So, King David, what really happened in the Bathsheba incident?
Uh, I really didn't want to have to talk about that. I don't know why that gets brought up every time. Every time I get interviewed, that always gets brought up. I guess Bathsheba is kind of like my Monica Lewinsky, and I'm just going to have to live with that for the rest of my life. Actually, a lot of the things that you've heard are probably not true. There's been all kinds of wild stories and accusations that have been made, and I suppose I should be grateful for actually having the right here to set the matter straight a little bit. First of all, you have to understand that when you're a king, and particularly when you're as popular a king as I am, you have certain prerogatives, and there are always women that are throwing themselves at you, and you're the king. I mean, that's just one of the fringe benefits of being king. So this is the context in which you got to understand it. This is the normal behavior of kings. There's nothing unusual in anything I did. There's nothing even immoral about it. But there I was on the roof of my palace. And this beautiful dark-haired woman just right across the street, and she's taking a bath right in front of me on the roof. She knows, I mean, it's common knowledge that on the warmer days of the year that I relax on the roof. And there she is, completely naked, taking a bath in front of me. Am I going to turn my head away? No, I'm going to look. And frankly, I looked long and hard. She was really good looking, and I was attracted to her. And then she turned her gaze towards me, and my eyes met her eyes, and she did not turn away. She didn't act embarrassed or shy in any way. I mean, what am I to expect? I looked at her, she looked at me. I knew what she was saying, and she knew that I knew. Anyway, it didn't take me long. I sent my servants to inquire about her. I'd seen her around, but I didn't really know who she was. It turns out she was newly married to one of my soldiers, one of my mighty men, who now at this point was promoted and was a pretty high officer in my army. And he was out fighting a battle, and this poor woman was lonely. She needed the kind of comfort that only a king could give in a situation like that. So I sent for her, and she came to my room, and we got it on, and then she went back to her house, and that was, man, that's happened to me hundreds of times. There's nothing unusual about that. Maybe that it was the wife of one of my chief soldiers, of somebody who had been with me for like 20 years at that point. But, the poor woman was lonely, and she wanted to, and I wanted to. What are we going to do? Anyway, she sends word back that she's pregnant. And normally I would just figure, that's her problem. Or I'd figure, good, she's honored with the king's seed. She should feel glad about it. But this was a little different. I couldn't get this woman out of my mind. It turns out that I really, really liked her. And I didn't want her to suffer the shame and stigma, because everybody knew that her husband was away at battle. If she was pregnant, and if she respected my privacy, which I thought she would do, she would suffer a lot of stigma. She'd probably have to get divorced. So I figured out a way to bail her out. I called her husband, whose name was Uriah. I called Uriah back from the battlefield, and I figured, I mean, the guy's been away from the battle away from his wife in battle for 3 months. Take him away from his soldiers who only have their horses, and bring them back, and he's going to make love to his wife. I mean, that'd be a reasonable thing to assume. The guy absolutely refused to sleep with his wife. I couldn't believe it. He said some nonsense about he didn't feel it was right for him to take pleasure in his wife while his soldiers were out on the field of battle. I mean, I have to think, sometimes I think he was suspicious, and he didn't want to give Bathsheba an alibi. I mean, who knows? But he absolutely refused. I had him come to my house and eat a meal with me, and I got him good and drunk. I figured if he was drunk, his defenses would be down a little bit, maybe his libido would be up, and for sure he'd go and sleep with his wife. I just hoped he'd be able to. He refused. He staggered to the guardhouse and he slept with the soldiers. I couldn't believe it. So what was I going to do? I shrugged my shoulders and I sent him back to the battle. It was, people have accused me of being responsible for his death. I mean, absolute nonsense. I mean, people die in battle. I mean, it just sometimes some people, sometimes other, and it just happened to be Uriah's time. I've been a soldier. I know about that. So he went up to the wall and he didn't get enough support, and the arrows flooded down on him, and he became a human pincushion. It's not my fault. Well, there I was. Uriah's dead, and here's this poor widow from a good family, sitting in a house next to my palace, carrying in her belly the king's seed. I did the only right and proper thing that I could have done. I brought her into my palace and I married her, and she joined my harem. Boy, let me tell you, Nathan was furious with me about that. He really called me on that one, and I almost had him executed. There's just nobody who could talk to a king that way. But he was really angry and he accused me of killing Uriah. That wasn't my fault at all, and of taking this woman who didn't belong to me. But we managed to smooth those things over. But the baby was born, a son, my heir. As far as I was concerned, I was really in love with Bathsheba at that time. Still am, for that matter. The baby was born, and then a few months later, the baby took ill and died, and that was like the first bad thing that ever really happened to me. I mean, my life had been going smoothly up to that point, ups and downs, but that one really devastated me. I mean, that son was going to be my heir, and to see him die in infancy, I don't think I ever recovered from it. And even though my kingdom continued and continues on in strength, for my personal and my family life, things really went downhill after that. I had sons murdering other sons, and sons raping my daughters. Well, I'm exaggerating a little bit. I had one son murder another son, and one of my daughters was raped by her half-brother. But I couldn't say anything. I had no moral authority in my own home anymore, because it was common knowledge of this woman I brought into my palace, and it just hurt my reputation, and it damaged my standing with my children. And then one of my sons rebelled against me, and I had to run for my life. I had to leave my palace in my capital city, and I heard that he raped women from my harem, and then he died in battle, and that was just the last straw. I lost 3 sons. I lost Bathsheba's son in infancy, and I lost Amnon, who was murdered, and then I lost Absalom in battle, and there was no consoling me after that. Life, which should be very sweet for me now, has become very bitter. And all I could really wait for and long for is death.